Mary had a little lamb.
From the classiest radio station on the air, this is...
Welcome to the Black Rabbit's Curse, where every shadow hides a sinister verse. Hear the airs that can tales of terror twist in your head into the dark unknown, where fear takes root and chills the bone. Beware, dear traveler, for once you're here, the curse may linger year after year. The Woman Who Carried Truth, a Black Rabbit's Curse original story inspired by Sojourner Truth. History remembers Sojourner Truth as a powerful speaker. A woman traveled town to town telling the truth about slavery. But there's a story rarely told in history books, a story about the thing that walked beside her, something ancient, something patient, something that woke whenever truth was being spoken in a world built on lies. Before she was Sojourner Truth, she was Isabel, a young enslaved in New York. The cabin where she slept was small and cold. Wind crept through the cracks in the walls like whispers searching for ears. At night, Isabel sometimes heard crying, not from outside, not from another room, from inside the walls, soft sobbing, as if the wood itself remembered suffering. Her mother will pull her close and whisper prayers in a language older than the plantation. "Don't answer the crying," she warned. "Why?" Isabel asks. Her mother's eyes darken. "Because some cries don't want help. They want witnesses." One night, the crying moved from across the room, from one wall to another. Then, beneath the floorboards, something began scratching slowly under the cabin. Scratch. 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 Like fingernails counting. The next morning, Isabel found deep claw marks in the wood beneath her bed. Marks no animal could make, and footprints in the dirt outside, bare human footprints that stopped suddenly in the middle of the yard, as if whoever made them had vanished into air. Years passed. Isabel was sold from one slave owner to another, each place harsher than the last, and sometimes while working in the fields, she could see someone watching her, a tall woman standing in the distance, always dressed in black, always still. But the strange thing was, the woman had no face, only darkness where a face should be. The first time Isabel truly saw her was after a brutal whipping. She collapsed in the barn, barely conscious. When she looked up, the faceless woman stood in the doorway. Moonlight poured around her, but not on her. The shadow woman raised one hand. Change hung from her wrist, rusty, broken, and a voice echoed inside Isabel's chest, not her ears, inside her bones. "I remember every name they stole." The woman vanished. The next morning, the slave master was found in a yard. alive, but unable to speak. Bruises shaped like chain links circled his ankles, as if something had dragged him across the frozen ground. In 1826, Isabel ran away with her baby. She fled through the forest so dark the trees looked like crowds. Behind her, she heard footsteps, not horses, not men, bare feet moving together in the woods. She turned and saw them, dozens of shadowy figures walking between the trees, men, women, children, all wearing chains, all silent, escorting her through the night. At the front walked a faceless woman. She pointed towards a hidden path. Moments later, slave catchers thundered down the main road, but they rode past Isabel as if they couldn't see her. The shadows guarded her until dawn. Then they faded into the morning mist, all except the faceless woman. Before disappearing, the figure whispered, "Freedom is the first truth. More must follow." Even after escaping slavery, Isabel's son had been legally sold, so she did something unheard of. She took a white man to court. Inside the courtrooms, something felt wrong. Every lie spoken in the room made the air colder. The lamps flickered, and beneath the floor came a strange sound. Thud, thud, thud. Like fish striking upwards from underground. When Isabel stood to speak, her voice shook the room. She spoke of motherhood, of injustice, of children stolen like cattle. And suddenly, the people in the courtroom began to see things. Figures standing in the aisles, thin shadows watching silently, the spirits of people whose names had been erased, waiting, listening. When the judge ruled in her favor, the pounding beneath the floor stopped, and for a second, Isabel saw hundreds of hands pressing up through the floorboards, lifting her, holding her up. Years later, Isabel changed her name, Sojourner Truth. She traveled across America speaking about slavery and injustice. But strange things followed her speeches. Church lights flickered, windows cracked, and people sometimes swore they saw a tall, faceless woman standing behind her while she spoke. One night, a preacher tried to silence her. During a revival meeting, he mocked her, said God never intended people like her to speak. Then the lanterns inside the tent went out, every single one. Darkness filled the room, and Sawyer's voice rose from the black, calm, powerful, terrifying. As she spoke, the preacher began choking. Black dirt poured from his mouth, as if the earth itself had claimed calm inside him. Behind Sawyer stood the shadow woman, chains rattling softly, watching. Near the end of her life, Sawyer laid in bed in a quiet room. A caretaker walking past her, speaking softly like she was talking to someone. When the door opened, the rooms looked empty, but in the corner stood a tall shadow. A faceless woman had returned. For a moment, the caretaker swore the room disappeared, and in its place stood a massive field filled with thousands of silent figures, the forgotten, the enslaved, the erased, all watching Sawyer. The shadow woman reached out her hand. Sawyer smiled and placed her hand in it. The chains around the figure cracked, breaking one by one. The voices of 1,000 whispered again. "You carried us." Sawyer closed her eyes, and the room went still. Years later, historians working with Sojourner Truth papers reported something strange. Footsteps in empty archives, whispers in locked rooms, and sometimes new writings appear in the margins of her speeches. Fresh ink, still wet. One activist found a message written across the bottom of the document. Words that hadn't been there before. It read, "When they bury the truth, we walk again." Security cameras later showed a figure walking through the archives after midnight. A tall woman, dressed in black, with chains around her wrists, and no face at all. Sit here, heart still racing, eyes wide open. Remember, the terror doesn't end when the video does. You may try to forget, but the shadows have a way of following. The whispers grow louder each night, don't they? So go ahead, close your eyes, if you dare. But know this, you're not alone. Not anymore. But the Black Rabbit's curse has seen you, and it's waiting. So what happens when the lights go out? If you want to find out, make sure you come back. But next time, will you be ready? Sleep well. Or don't.